Hey, my name is Shelly, and welcome to a recommendation video. You may be wondering why I have a mic and a drink. This is alcohol. You probably already noticed that I am holding my microphone today, and that is because my family is home and it's just easier this way. Earlier today, I sent a message on Discord asking if they had any suggestions for recommendation videos that I was going to film. And one of my friends suggested that since it was Canada Day, to highlight some Canadian authors. And I thought that was such a fantastic idea, to the point where I didn't really have anything planned today because our plans kind of got canceled because of the weather. So I'm like, well, you know what? I'm going to film a quick video. So here I am in my grubs. I didn't do my hair. I barely put my makeup on, and I'm drinking. So happy Saturday and happy Canada Day. So it took me about 20 minutes to make this list of 15 authors I'm going to talk about. Luckily, I actually own some of these books, which I'm really excited about. And I was actually surprised about some of these authors on the list because I had no idea that they were Canadian. As always with all my recommendation videos or wrap-up videos or anything, I will touch upon the synopsis of these books very briefly. And a lot of these books I have not actually read. So it will be brand new to me. Without further to say, let's get started. So the first one on my list is no stranger to the fantasy booktube community, and that is Steven Erikson. He is very beloved for his Book of the Malazan series. It's on everybody's top 10 who has read it. It is on their top 10 series of all time. And I am ashamed to admit that I've only made it through The Gardens of the Moon, which is the first book, and half of the second book, which is Dead House Gates. I really do need to continue on with the series. I feel like it's something that I love, and especially this year, I'm really discovering that I do like complex, confusing stories, and this story is complex and confusing. It is epic to scope. Dozens and dozens of different POVs, different timelines, it's wild. And I couldn't even begin to actually tell you what this series is about, except there is a war going on, like most series. I'm so happy to say that Steven Erikson is from Toronto. Just like me, we're both Torontonians. So if you haven't checked out the Book of the Malazan or Gardens of the Moon, please do, because it is a very special series. So the next one on my list is actually a surprise to me. I had no idea that this author was Canadian, and that is Sebastien de Castell, Trader's Blade. I think it's the Grey Coats series. I always thought it was the Great Coats. Oh, it is the Great Coats. The Great Coats series. This series is it's either very beloved or very disliked. I heard that the first book especially is kind of like a mixed bag, and then once you get past that first book, the series gets really good. I heard that this series also really funny dialogue, really quick-witted, and it is a smaller series, which a lot of people are drawn towards. This series, from what I'm understanding, is kind of like more of a Musketeers environment. We had the Musketeers, which were warriors that fought for the king or the kingdom, but something happened, and now they are all disgraced, and I think they're like goons of a hire, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know much about this series. Like I said, it has a massive following. It is a quick series of 4 books. Sebastien de Castell does have 2 other series that I'm aware of. There could be more. The Spell Slingers, which I believe is a completed series as well. I can't say that word. Melvent. The Melvent 7, which is a new series, which was published in 2023. So I am actually very curious about this series, and I will be starting it in the near future. Not sure when, but I have it and it's ready to go. So yes, another great Canadian author. So the next Canadian author I'd like to talk about is actually a sci-fi author, and that is Emily St. John Mandel. I actually picked up this book not too long ago because the setting is in an area that I spent a lot of time in Ontario. So I was really excited about that. As far as I know, this is just a standalone, and it's a post-apocalyptic story. I believe we're following like a group of people in a very rural area during the apocalypse, or something happens. So it's gotten a lot of good reviews, and there is a TV show adapted from this. I'm actually going to read this in the summer, and I forgot to include it in my TBR. I believe most of their books are standalone, so it is a perfect book to pick up and test the waters for another great Canadian author. Switching it up with a Canadian author that does some YA fantasy is Nicki Pau Preto. They are more famously known for their Crown of Feathers series, along with the Bonesmith series, which I have not read, but I've heard a lot of great things. This series is more like an epic YA fantasy with younger characters, and from what I know, Bonesmith is more like, I think it's post-apocalyptic or dystopian. I have completed this series, and I do plan to pick up the Bonesmith in the future. So if you're looking for a YA fantasy, got you covered. Okay, so we're going to talk about an author that is not a stranger to my channel, and that is K.S. Villoso. I recently read The Wolf of Aranyaro and The Ikasar Falcon. Recently, I've talked about those in previous videos, and K.S. Villoso is another Canadian author that I think goes under the radar because this series has a lot of potential to be a really great series. I talk about it a little bit more in depth in these videos, but the world building in the Chronicles of the Bitch Queen series, it is a really fantastically developed world. And I did have some issues with this book, but overall, I think it's a really good series. I do need to complete the third book, but I know that this author has a lot of other series. I think most of them are now sub-published. I do plan to read the rest of their backlist. So here's another great author for you to check out. Another great Canadian author that might surprise a lot of people is Fonda Lee. Although she doesn't live in Canada anymore, she was born and raised here, so she is Canadian. I don't think I really need to talk about this series all that much. This series is so freaking beloved. It's crazy. It's like The Godfather meets Asian-inspired culture, mixed in with a little bit of fantastical world, and that's what you get with the Greenbone Saga. So yeah, another great award-winning Canadian author. So another author that I want to talk about is actually an author that became really popular a couple years ago, and that is Evan Winters, who wrote The Rage of Dragons. But I've heard really great things. I've heard a couple people not like it because it is very much ragey. It is about a revenge story, and I've heard that there's not a lot of dragons in the first book, but maybe that might change in the second book. Currently, there's only 2 books out published, and the third book will be coming out soon, I hope. I have not actually picked up this series yet. I do plan to pick it up to coincide with the release date of the third book when it comes out. So if you're looking for an epic revenge story with possible dragons, I don't know, check it out. See there, another great author. So another author that is not a stranger to my channel, and that is H.M. Long, that wrote Darkwater Daughter. They also wrote another series, which I actually have read as well. I can't remember what the name of the series is, but the first one being Hall of Smoke. This is like Viking inspired, but I want to focus on Darkwater Daughter because this is one of my favorite books of the year. This book is just, it's like Pirates of the Caribbean in the best sort of way. Pirates of the Caribbean, but like if the Caribbean was a freezing cold tundra with women who can sing to storms. That's essentially what it is. This is a fun adventure. There is a romance in it, and I'm so excited that the sequel will be coming out this summer. I actually think it's coming out in a couple days, and I will be reading it for sure. If you're looking for something that's less focus on the romance and more like new adults, I highly recommend this series and this author. The next author I would like to talk about is P.L. Stuart, and he's the author of The Drowned Kingdom. And he's the co-host of the channel Page Chewing, which is a fabulous channel with my good friend Taylor as another co-host. And they talk about different authors, and they even talk to publishing companies. It's a really, really great channel. I highly recommend it. I'll link it down below. But we're going to talk about PL. I will be honest, I have not read this book yet, but Taylor has talked about it immensely, saying that it is a very good series. Essentially, the story is about an Atlantean prince and his struggles ruling a kingdom that is now sinking, essentially. So I heard that this story is very complex, it's very political, and the main character is a little unlikable. If you're looking for something complex to sink your teeth into, I highly recommend checking out The Drowned Kingdom. Another author that I would like to talk about is Tanya Huff, and I literally found out about Tanya Huff today. She's been around for a while, and I'm so surprised that I haven't heard about her. But the book that really grabbed my attention is Valor's Choice. And the series is called Confederation of Valor, and it is a 10-book long series. It is sci-fi, political fantasy, so it's very complex in the political world, plus you got a space opera thing going on. So because all these different races are in this confederation together, each civilian has to kind of be a soldier for a couple years, and that's pretty much as far as I got because I don't like to read too much into things. That sounds like it could be very interesting with like the aspect of like having to be a soldier with other races away from Earth. If you're looking for an older sci-fi series, I really think that Tanya Huff is an author to check out. The next author I would like to talk about is an author that I love, and I have mentioned briefly on my channel, but I haven't really talked about them that much, and that is Charles de Lint. Charles de Lint has been around probably since the 80s. He has created this beautiful urban fantasy series that takes place in a fictional town called Newford. From what I know, each book follows a different character. Because it is a small town, a lot of these characters are connected, or you'll run into different characters in each book. What makes this book series special is it's more focused on the metaphysical side than werewolves and vampires. So if you're looking for something a little bit more metaphysical, so I'll just quickly read the back of it, just kind of sum it up a little bit. Welcome to Newford. Welcome to the music club, the waterfront, the alleys where ancient myths and magic spills into the modern world. That just sounds so kind of cozy a little bit. So yeah, I highly recommend checking this author. He is an award-winning Canadian author. The Onion Girl by Charles de Lint is one of my favorite books of all time, and I'm really kicking myself for not getting back into the series sooner, and I will be doing that very soon, probably in the fall, because I feel like the fall is a perfect time to get into this world and pick up the series. The next Canadian author I would like to talk about is Krystle Matar, and Krystle Matar is actually a part of Taylor's Discord channel, so I have the pleasure of talking with her quite often, and she is a wonderful person. And Krystle wrote a really special book called The Legacy of Bright Watch, which was an SBFBO finalist, I believe last year, 23. And although I'm ashamed to admit that I haven't read this book yet, I do plan on reading it. The only reason I haven't is because I heard it's a very hard-hitting, gritty book, and I am a weakling and a baby, so sometimes it's a little hard for me. But Krystle is so delightful. I trust her writing, and I trust that she wrote something very special. This is a dark urban fantasy, steampunk kind of mystery. This is a murder mystery in a very gritty, unforgiving world. So if you're looking for something like that, I highly recommend it. And I highly recommend checking out Krystle Matar because she is fantastic. So the next Canadian author I want to talk about is yet another award-winning author that I am ashamed to admit that I have not read from, and that is Gavriel Kay. And the book that I'm probably mostly focusing on is Tagana, because that's the one that I'm more familiar with. I don't know much about the plot of the story besides the fact that it is an epic fantasy. I believe it's political and dark. So I'll just read a quick snippet of it. It says, a masterful, epic, magic, politics, war, and power, and love, and hate. That sounds like it's a lot of good stuff. I've heard a lot of positive reviews regarding this. Like sometimes I heard this actually makes it to people's top 10 of the year. I really need to get myself into gear and pick up this book and test out Gavriel Kay. The next author I'd like to talk about is a sub-pop author, a published author. She has been around. I think she's gotten more traction lately because of her Bridge Kingdom series and also A Fate Inked in Blood, and that is Danielle L. Jensen. Danielle L. Jensen kind of does a little bit of everything. She does like adult romantic fantasy, political fantasy, YA fantasy. If I'm not mistaken, I believe this is a new adult. I have not read A Fate Inked in Blood as of yet, but I've heard really good reviews about it so far. From what I know, this is Viking inspired, and I think we're following a shield maiden. If you're looking for fantasy with romance, I highly recommend checking out Danielle L. Jensen. So the next Canadian author I would like to talk about is actually no stranger to the internet, and that is Xiran Jay Zhao, who created The Iron Widow. When this book came out, it blew up everywhere. Everybody was talking about it. It was all over the bookstores. It has one of the most beautiful covers ever. I kind of wanted to pick it up, but at the time I really wasn't into YA. And I'm not sure if it's YA or new adult. I'm not sure which one it falls under, or if it's one that kind of just balances between both. From what I know, this book is all about feminine rage and giant robots. And I'm like, that sounds freaking awesome. So I will be picking up Iron Widow when the sequel comes out. The sequel was supposed to come out, but there was some issues with the publisher, so it's been pushed up. So the sequel, Heavenly Tyrant, comes out at the end of December of this year, so December 2024. If you're looking for feminist rage and just want to read from an author that is not afraid to share their opinion, please check out Xiran Jay Zhao. Their videos are actually quite hilarious, so I highly recommend checking out their videos, and also Iron Widow. Oh, Canada, how many great authors do you have? That was an amazing list. As always, my socials and anybody who I've mentioned will be linked down below. If you made it to the end of the video, please leave a Canadian flag or a maple leaf. And if you have any Canadian authors to recommend, please comment down below. I would love to see your lists. Please like and subscribe if you like this video. It really helps the channel grow. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a fabulous day, and happy Canada Day. Bye!